can tell you people they were the devil's children.
Greetings from Castle Goring, from Mickey, Aurora, and from me. I don't know quite what they're doing, but I'm not sure they're in the picture, so I want to get them fully in the picture. Well, I hope your Christmas season is being as enjoyable as mine has so far proven to be. I am going to plunge right in, because today we have some rather serious matters to cover, because there are some huge problems developing in the Commonwealth, in fact, internationally, as a result of what I regard as irresponsible race baiting. We needn't ask the Trojan horse's name, because we know it. But before we plunge right in, I'm going to read out a comment from Natalie Inger, because I think we should start on a positive note, don't you? I didn't think I would ever be able to get used to King Charles, not because I didn't like him, but purely because our Queen was the only monarch I'd ever known. But I loved King Charles's speech. He was controlled, confident, compassionate, and just so natural. Wonderful, she says. Now we are going to plunge in with Colin Zapp's comment, which is a lead-in to the whole of the theme of today's episode. Many people say we shouldn't spend so much time on the Harkles. I disagree. They are prime examples of everything that is rotten and destructive in contemporary culture, and exposing them is necessary and good for the soul. Well, I happen to agree with a lot of those sentiments, irrespective of whether they are troubled or troubling, nice but misguided. Whatever their motivation, the effect of their conduct is divisive and destructive. And yes, I do think they are a morality tale. One, it has to be said, that I wish would come to a rather speedier conclusion than it is coming to. You know, some of the people whom they attract or who act on their behalf are reincarnations, as we are about to see in the remainder of this episode, of some of the worst figures of the 20th century, such as dictators who were so disrespectful of people's civil liberties. And the only difference between what their agenda seems to be and figures from the 30s and 40s, yes, baby girl, is that they haven't yet achieved the power to shut us up, shut us down, shut us out, and shut us into concentration camps the way their earlier incarnations did. Make no mistake about it. What is happening now is as dangerous, in my considered view, as somebody who has read extensively on history. It is as dangerous a time as it is possible for us to live in, and if that sort of agenda is not kept in its proper place, I mean, I'm not saying that people shouldn't have the right of expression even when they have views that I don't agree with. What I am saying is that people who wish to deprive us of our civil liberties under the guise of their knowing better than we do when they patently don't is very dangerous. You know, it's not possible to exaggerate the danger of the situation that the free world, find ourselves in, with our freedoms being challenged from many quarters, some of which are what Lenin called useful idiots. But an early recognition of how dangerous and vicious these people are is fundamental to our protection of our civil liberties. These are power-crazed individuals whose every objective seems to be to erase from the rhetoric, shall we say, anyone who disagrees with them and anyone who does not worship cult-like at the feet of these self-appointed, self-proclaimed saviors of society and humanity. Don't take my word for it. Start to read about what happened in the 1920s and the 1930s and what happened as a result in the 1940s and thereafter. And you will see that the parallels are very profound. So when you have considered thinkers comparing these people to dangerous figures from the past, these are not idle comparisons that should be dismissed, but warnings that we should heed. Leslie Newsom says, Lady C, since you don't do social media or follow other channels, you might not know you've been trending on Twitter. I certainly didn't know it. Someone whose name you won't mention has been trolling you, using your photograph and attacking you because you dare to criticize his employer, the goddess of fake compassion. I wonder who that could be. He seems to be complaining that YouTube is remiss in not shutting down your channel because you dare to criticize his false goddess. Aurora, can you help mommy out? Who is... Leslie Newsom talking about? I need to know. He seems to regard anything but adoration of her as hatred deserving of being shut down. People are saying he'd better be careful that you don't chew him up alive. Sorry, darling, I don't eat feces. Do you intend doing anything about this? This is one and a very pointed version of several comments that I received on this subject. Well, of course, it would be very telling and I would be very stupid if I said what I intended to do about any threat that was made to me. After all, you know, one does not inform people who set themselves up as your adversary and are targeting you with what you intend to do. That's not how the real world operates. Although those idiots doubtless don't understand the way the real world operates. Well, I have made a very cursory inquiries because I am very busy over the Christmas season and I really don't have that much time. And quite frankly, I don't have that much inclination. At this point, I don't think the matter is worth too much of my attention. What I will say, though, is that the troller or botter or whatever else he is in breach of not only YouTube and Twitter rules, but is also in breach of the First Amendment in the USA and the practice of free speech and the right of all citizens in the UK and Jamaica and everywhere else in the free world, may I say. But I'm just mentioning the UK and Jamaica because I'm a citizen of both those countries. And the king is my king in two countries, and the royal family is my royal family in two countries. So I have an absolute right. But we'll get to that in a moment. Well, as long as I or anybody else airs our views in a lawful and civilized and acceptable manner, which I have done at all times and will continue to do, and so have my viewers aired their views. So I think he's rather dumb to post images of me at the Black Archives Museum and the Jamaican High Commission when the Jamaican Deputy High Commissioner introduced me to celebrate the publication of my book, People of Colour and the Royals. I don't know the purpose of posting those photographs. Are they to prove that I am a sufficiently influential figure to warrant such a setting? Or are they to disparage the Black Lives Museum and the Jamaican High Commission in some way, like possibly their Uncle Tom's, because they're not throwing racist stones at his favourite goddess, the one who doesn't even acknowledge that she's black? I really don't know. And frankly, he isn't important enough to me for me to waste my time finding out. Yes, Aurora. Aurora's keeping very close to me, you notice. For what the imbecile has done is establish my provenance as a well-established West Indian authoress whose work has been deemed sufficiently supportive of the black cause to warrant the launch of a book at two such eminent institutions. I mean, you can't make this up, you really can't. Am I concerned by the attentions of this individual? I remain supremely unworried. This channel advocates at all times this adherence of all, including myself, to the highest standards of civilized behavior. I advocate for truth, decency, responsibility, racial harmony, and all the other sterling virtues. Aurora's doing something naughty. I'm going to have to keep a little eye on her. And that is both publicly and privately, whether one is in private or public life. I never resort to foul language or false information on this channel. I am scrupulous in respecting not only YouTube's rules, but also the rights of others, even when I do not agree with them or they with me. That includes the creature in question. I answer questions on this channel from you, the viewer, which demonstrates that I respond to the concerns of you, the viewer. I have no hobby horses. All subjects that are addressed by me are addressed by the viewers of this channel. You all have a right to express your opinions and concerns and to have those questions answered. No botter has the right to tell you what your concerns should be, or that he should be muzzling you via muzzling me. This is not latter-day China or Russia, nor is it 1930s Germany. In both the US and the UK, there is freedom of speech. And a botter who tries to muzzle people who are behaving perfectly civilly and acceptably and well within the law, but whose sentiments the botter disagrees with, only proves that it is the botter who has no respect for the rights of others. It is the botter, not us, who seeks to violate the First Amendment in the US, as well as the rights of others in states such as Britain and Jamaica, which also respect freedom of speech. The botter is the one who is in breach of the rules and regulations of Twitter, YouTube, and the other platforms which the botter is using in an attempt to violate the rights of others while trying to further an unscrupulous and an unlawful agenda. The late Queen approved me, nobody else, me, to write the words for the commemorative stamps which 11 of the nations of which she was the head of state, to celebrate and mark the occasion of her 95th birthday. I'm going to show you the board that was used to publicize the matter. I'm going to ask my techie people to include a photograph of it now. Further required to post a video on this channel, promoting it, and to promote it elsewhere as well in the general press. My participation, done with the approval of Her Majesty. She then further approved me, again, personal, only me, of all the writers in the world, only me, to write the script for the commemorative issue of stamps from yet another nation of which she was the head of state, in celebration of her jubilee. And she personally approved the written statement on it, so open for all to see publicly, that this was done with Her Majesty's specific approval. And again, here we go. There, is where it says, approved by Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, unmistakable in black and white. And again, I'm going to ask that this be inserted for your delectation in this gap. I mean, you really couldn't make any of this up. Would the Queen have been approving me and my channel, because I was also made to do special videos promoting these matters? I mean, what fantasy world are these people living in? Would she have approved me and my channel and had me promoting on behalf of the various nations of which she was head of state? 11, not 1, 11. For both her birthday and Jubilee celebrations. Not only, I mean, you can't make it up on this channel, but with dedicated episodes on this channel as well. If she had believed that I was behaving inappropriately in any way whatsoever, if she had felt that this channel or me personally was avowing anything resembling hatred or anything so destructive, I mean, this is the visible living proof of the complete disconnection with reality that this creature who dares to wade in is displaying to the world. Is he seriously trying to suggest that Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II was going to approve of an author, the content of whose work she objected to, and who crazy people, stupid people, people out of touch with reality are trying to propose was spreading hate about her grandson and granddaughter-in-law? I mean, madness. It clearly isn't Harry and Meghan alone who need to watch out for Nurse Ratched. Well, this botter, whom I have to tell you I had never seen before, he popped up on my screen when I was looking at Meghan and Harry's Netflix on-reality show, is clearly out of his mind, if indeed he possesses one. My impression of him, I have to tell you, is that he is an overgrown guppy whose body resembles that of a human being. But my goodness, check out those red, round, dead fish eyes and that perpetually open, circular mouth. And since I won't condescend to call him by the name he would wish me to use, as if I would be dumb enough to promote him and give wide coinage to his name. I mean, so hereafter I'm going to call him the Guppy. Sorry, it's the Guppy. And I'm going to observe how really tiresome it is when overgrown guppies delude themselves into thinking that they're sharks and then swim into the dolphin pool and try to intimidate dolphins. They, to use a biological analogy, they need to understand that just because they've swallowed a minnow or two and they've overgrown themselves doesn't make them sharks. But even if they were sharks, the only creature of the sea that isn't afraid of a shark is a dolphin. So, Guppy, swim into my dolphin pool and see what happens. Continue to do it. So, to sort of, in a sort of way, since you asked the question, answer it as to what I intend to do without being too opaque. Let me put it this way. If I hear any more from that Guppy, or hear that it is trying to harass me by violating my lawful rights to comment upon matters of public interest to those who display an interest in the subject, it will discover what the 5 main newspaper countries in this country have discovered over the years. It might even discover that my enemy's enemy is my friend. And unless it wants the wrath of unforeseen elements brought down on its head, it needs to choose whom it wishes to make an adversary of rather more carefully than it seems to be doing. It needs to understand that there is a reason why the old adage, my enemy's enemy is my friend, came into existence. It is playing a very dangerous game for itself, which it doesn't understand the consequences of. And it doesn't even realize that it has drifted into very dangerous waters for itself. Not for me. If it wishes to keep its perennially open mouth filled with minnows for the foreseeable future, it had better be careful whom it hopes to swallow. I am fodder for no one and for nothing, and that includes bullies whose pretensions and delusions have allowed themselves to believe that they are bigger and better fish than they are. It doesn't frighten me. It has nothing on me, and it cannot intimidate me. It has embarked upon a totally pointless exercise unless its objective was to boost its profile using my name. If that was its objective, it will learn what a mistake it made. For further violation of my name and rights will result in consequences which it will find as unpleasant as they are surprising. If it wants to boost its profile at others' expense, that is a matter for it and for them. But where I am concerned, thank you very much, I will not have my name spat out of the mouth of any Guppy. I will hereafter therefore decline to publicly and openly address any issue it raises, though you and it may be sure that any further incursions into my space and liberties will result in unforeseen and very decisive consequences. If it wishes to return to the obscurity, oblivion, and repeated failures whence it came, it will be my pleasure to demonstrate to it the power of right over wrong and good over evil. But as for any further recognition of its pathetic and destructive presence where I'm concerned, hereafter, I decline to acknowledge its existence. But to keep you, my viewers, who have been so concerned on my behalf in the picture, let me say all the actions I will take will be behind the scenes. I don't propose to waste either my time or my money on engaging overtly with a bankrupt, penniless poser in litigation or any other overt conflict, when there are remedies available to me which mean that others will provide the solution on my behalf. I suppose only time will tell if it will have the good sense to reflect upon the realities of its situation. Or do guppies rarely have no brains at all? I don't know. I wasn't ever good in biology. Can it be so stupid as well as delusional to think that YouTube would be shutting down a channel that Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II herself approved to not only celebrate her birthday and jubilee, but also to advertise those celebrations? She did this both before, during, and after I was answering questions from you, the viewer, about her maverick grandson and his ambitious, self-promoting, publicity-hungry, race-baiting wife, neither of whom believe in the bonkers First Amendment, let's quote him, of free speech, although Her Majesty plainly did. Otherwise, she would not have been endorsing me with her approval the way she did. No one can justifiably criticize this channel as anything but stalwart in the support of decency, integrity, and all the other sterling virtues, including free and responsible speech. I am solidly anti-racist, no matter from where the racism emanates. I abhor violence of any kind and have made that absolutely clear throughout. It's unbelievable. I mean, these advocates of the violation of other people's rights are seeking to violate your and my right to converse. I mean, it's unbelievable. And in fact, I always demand, as any troll through this channel will do, that I advocate the right of everybody, even when I don't agree with their opinions, to express their opinions as long as they do so in a civilized manner. At no time have I ever advocated for hatred. And in fact, this channel is littered with references to compassion for those who suffer from mental and emotional illnesses or from personality disorders, even though I also make the point that people who possess them and are violating the rights of others should not be given a free pass. It does not seem to be aware of the larger issues at stake here. It is a private citizen with a shady and checkered past who has recently imposed itself upon the free world as the chief censor. I mean, it's unbelievable. Appointed by itself, with the aim of shutting up and shutting down anyone whose views are discordant with its own narrow viewpoint. But who elected it? Who appointed it? Who nominated it? Where is its official function? It is an American functioning in the US, where free speech is protected by the First Amendment, which I'm tripping over my words, both it and its false gods view as bonkers, and which it and they try to use to shut down everybody who doesn't agree with them. A total abuse and violation of free speech and of the First Amendment. Well, it has overreached itself spectacularly, and in its quest for control and the acquisition of powers it does not rightfully possess, and which no one can be permitted to possess in a free and democratic society, it needs to be aware. It is a danger, and you need to be aware. It is a danger to free citizens because it is a dangerous bully on a national and international scale who would wish to deprive all Americans of their First Amendment right. Because if you don't agree with it, you must be shut down. That means it doesn't agree with the First Amendment. You know, if it's allowed to continue to bully people into silence, it will soon be right up there, along with its gods and goddesses of control and censorship, right up there with other archetypes of control and censorship who used free speech, who viewed free speech as something dangerous when it disagreed with them, and therefore anybody who disagreed with them had to be muzzled. A few people spring to mind: Hitler, Goebbels, Stalin, Mao. Oh, and let's not forget the Xi of China today. Let me end it by saying it has plainly forgotten itself and the limits which a free society imposes upon not only its government and corporate institutions, but also upon private citizens, which is all that it actually is, because it has no valid role except as a private citizen shooting forth rubbish out of its guppy-like mouth. A private citizen with neither authority nor official status, who has set itself up as an authoritarian censor intent on silencing anybody whose sentiments it does not like by making false accusations against them, as it throws its weight around and effectively abuses the rights of others, usually playing the race card. I wonder whether it was a bully in the schoolyard. I'm just curious about that one. Or if this is a new predilection. I don't know, and I don't care. What I will say is, I am a citizen of two countries of which the monarch is head of state. As a British and a Jamaican citizen, I have the right, indeed the duty, to criticize the royal family if and when I deem it to be behaving badly. That is my professional role in life, or at least one of my professional roles. I criticize all its members when I have just cause, as I did recently over Prince William and the King's original intervention in the Lady Susan Hussey matter. Since when did the British and Jamaican citizens lose the right to criticize a member of our royal family because some posturing poser sets himself up as the arbiter of what we can and can't say about a member of our royal family because she, like him, is a person of colour? There are thousands and thousands of comments from people of colour on this channel which clearly show that decent people of colour do not condone bad behaviour just because its perpetrator is a fellow person of colour. The colour of your skin does not exempt you from criticism when people justifiably find your behaviour lacking. To introduce such an interdict is not only racism and racism of the rankest kind, but, if allowed to stand, would show that we have not only succumbed to racist bullying, but have become latter-day versions of the victims of Nazi Germany, with their race baiting, their silences of free speech, etc. in the 1930s. Well, those of you who know your history, you will remember Pastor Nye Moyler. Well, I'm no Pastor Nye Moyler. I'm not waiting till the Gestapo knocks on my door to open my mouth. I'm opening it now. I'm not intimidated, and I'm not being silenced by these latter-day Nazis. I'm a citizen of 2 states which alone give me the right to give my opinion. I'm also, for what it's worth, regarded as a fully paid up member of the Jamaican and therefore the black community. Irrespective of the colour of your skin. In Jamaica, if you are Jamaican, you are a member of the Jamaican and the black community. Now that's real racial inclusiveness. These jerks could be using Jamaica as an example of what they should be proposing, at least in terms of race relations. How dare this foreigner, an American, call for the silencing of any British or Jamaican citizen on the grounds that I must worship either at the altar of this false goddess and ignore the manifest destructiveness which she has unleashed upon my 2 countries. And if I fail to obey his dictates, then he has a right to moan to YouTube that I am remiss because that it's remiss because it's not shutting me down. YouTube isn't remiss, he is. So are his employers. Fortunately, and now I'm going to let you into a little secret, I know rather more than it does what is coming down the line next year. I do. And no matter how successful he or his employers are at muzzling their detractors now, in 2023, things are going to prove to be a whole different story. Wait and see who and what gets relegated into oblivion. So, to conclude, do I look as if I'm worried? My quivering and quaking. I can assure you, any quivering and quaking is going to be done on the other side of the Atlantic. You can't bury a rotting corpse in full view where people's nasal passages are offended indefinitely. And the corpse of freedom of speech doesn't exist, although the corpse of the attempts at freedom of speech does and is stinking to high heaven. So, Brenda Matthews says, Mark Toth, economist and historian, and Jonathan Sweet, retired U.S. Army colonel, wrote an article in The Hill, the 22nd of December 2022, about how Harry and Meghan are weakening American security in the world by denigrating the Commonwealth, giving hard examples how many African Commonwealth countries are siding with Russia and China. And my daughter at Christmas dinner said, "Oh, poor Meghan, everyone picks on her. I watched a bit of their docu-series." This is the issue. People pick up bits and their victimhood is enshrined. Well, Brenda Matthews, if your daughter doesn't seem to understand that a little knowledge is a dangerous thing, that's regrettably a very common feature of humanity. And their little bit of knowledge gets them and the rest of the world into terrible messes. That's a part of the human condition. That is why humanity, or is one of the reasons why, I should say, humanity continues and will always continue to be in a mess. It's not that the knowledge isn't out there, it's that people aren't sufficiently aware of their responsibility to inform themselves fully before they wade in and come to false conclusions, and they are being misled. Well, putting aside that fact, and personally speaking, I can well see why your daughter most likely doesn't have the time to be properly informed on such an apparently trivial matter. Not that in reality it's actually trivial, because most people have busy lives. And this is what the Meghans and Harrys and their race-baiting cohorts are relying upon. The ignorance of people who sympathize with them, or whom they can manipulate, in the knowledge that these people have superficial as opposed to in-depth knowledge. Well, I read the piece in The Hill. It's a very, very evidently eminent publication, and it doesn't go far enough. Now, I, as a West Indian, I'm going to tell you it doesn't go far enough. It focuses on the destructiveness that Meghan and Harry, with their race baiting and undermining of the Commonwealth, have been unleashing in the Commonwealth, but they stick to Africa. The same is true of the West Indies and the Central and South American states that were also British. It's not only Africa. It's not limited to Africa. Then, into this toxic mix comes Roxane Gay of the New York Times with an opinion piece calling for regime change. I mean, unbelievable. So, a citizen of our supposedly main ally is calling for regime change in the United Kingdom, notwithstanding the fact that we are a free and independent state where most of the citizens support the regime exactly as it is. She is calling for regime change because she, a black woman, because this is the race baiting that is actually happening, feels that Meghan, another what she regards as black woman, though Meghan doesn't regard herself as a black woman, has complaints that if she bothered to study the matter, she would see are completely untenable. But whether they are or aren't, it's beyond belief. What gives an American citizen the right to demand regime change in the United Kingdom? whether they're black or white makes no difference. It is an outrage. This is interference in our national life of the most unacceptable kind. Who do these jumped up little nonentities think they are? Do they think that their black hearts give them the right to use their black arts to demand that we play their racist game or end up being cast into outer darkness because we refuse to acknowledge that some black people or people of colour are less than perfect, which is their game? Are we to be bullied, intimidated, abused into submission the way these silent supporters of black misbehaviour have supported the devastation that Meghan is wreaking upon the interests of the Commonwealth, and as a result of it, the free world internationally? Where was Roxane Gay when Robert Mugabe was destroying Zimbabwe? Where was she when Zuma was destroying South Africa? Remarkably silent then, I gather. Oh, so it's okay for black people to kill, steal from, and devastate the citizens of their country. Is that the message that she's delivering? Because that's the message she's giving me. But Meghan Markle, who has nothing to complain about, the record couldn't be clearer to those who wish to see it, was embraced by the British people, the British royal family, the British aristocracy, because Roxane Gay doesn't like the fact that Meghan Markle is basically a liar, and therefore she, Roxane Gay, chooses to accept her false narrative as the fact. We in Britain are to be subject to regime change? Excuse me, is this Syria? Is this Iraq? I mean, insanity. Do you see the total insanity? But the danger that these people are exposing people who value harmony and freedom. Do you see what they're exposing us to? What I find outrageous is that the New York Times editorial staff allowed any writer, whether black or white, to call for regime change in the cradle of democracy. And if that was not bad enough, we now have another. Because we now have Politico. We have Joanna Weiss, who's clearly Jewish. And I say that as the great-granddaughter of a Jewess. She looks Jewish. The name Weiss is Jewish. If she's not Jewish, I'm honouring her with inclusiveness. But because she's Jewish, she would know rather more personally than the average American about the suffering of a people. So her ethnic group is of some relevance here. she has been lambasted by the Guppy and Meghan's other followers because she dared to call Meghan a narcissist. And she dared to say in an article, effectively saying that people are now sick and tired of narcissists. 2022, really, she's saying, is the end as far as she sees the turning point, let's put it that way, where all those rank narcissists who have been flourishing and grabbing column inches, she thinks the tide is turning. And she is then being accused of racism. And Meghan is being demanded a free pass for on the grounds that she, Meghan, speaks as a person with a black skin. Well, first of all, Meghan doesn't say she has a black skin. Meghan doesn't identify as black. Secondly, Meghan doesn't have a black skin. Meghan's skin is whiter than most Mediterraneans, all of whom are Caucasian, and whom she herself tried to pass as one of. So, even there, they can't even manage to get it right. But they are complaining that her complaints are with the colour of her skin. Idiots! Everybody's complaint is with the colour of your skin. If you are making a complaint, you make it through your mouth or using your hand, and the colour of your skin remains the same. It's just stupid. These people are so stupid. I mean, you cannot make any of this up, but they're dangerous as well, because they are as farcical as the goose steppers of the 1930s. And if they're not stopped, will end up being as dangerous. Sarah L. says, funny, everybody else in the royal family seems to be doing fine in the institutions and the system. Maybe they need to realize it is them after all. Well spotted, Sarah L. And we're sort of winding down now to something a little bit more agreeable before I say au revoir. Annette Stewart says, Goebbels was consistent in his lies. Yes, because he was intelligent. These two tell a lie and then tell another lie about the same situation. And I'm going to insert here and say, and one lie contradicts the other. Thank you, Lady C. What a marathon. On another note, I looked at the pictures and the videos today of the royal family on their walk to and from church, and they all looked so happy and relaxed. All the shenanigans from California have drawn them closer together. Well, when you're being bombarded, it does have a unifying effect. That's number one. Number two, it's also made people who just took the royal family for granted realize the sterling work they do and what decent people they are. And number three, Harry and Meghan's conduct have exposed them as the complete undesirables that they truly are. B.J.C. Cook says, Lady C, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Princess Diana later express embarrassment over the Panorama interview? She certainly did. She did it to me, she did it to Rosa Monckton, she did it to many, many people. She bitterly regretted having done it. That doesn't mean she wouldn't have done something else. It simply would not have had some of the overriding aspects that it did. Because remember, Martin Bashir lied to her, played upon her paranoia, and made her believe that people were betraying her who weren't. But to continue the question, that she expressed embarrassment over the Panorama interview. If so, it would explain why Prince William did not want it re-aired and would make Harry using it disrespectful to his late mother. Thank you for your insights and happy Christmas from California. BJC Cook, well spotted, very good observation. Yes, it is disrespectful of Harry to have included the footage, or to have got the footage. Well, he actually did include the footage because his company helped to co-produce the program. So he is responsible. What can I tell you? Silver. 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 More than 30 pieces too. Nita Flores says, Lady C, Merry Christmas. I need to tell you someone pretending to be you answered my question on Thursday. The reply was highlighted and used your name and photo. They asked me to chat with you because I was a loyal subscriber. Please warn people this is not you replying like that. Thank you for this, Nita Flores. I don't know who was doing it. It's certainly nothing to do with me. I never answer personal questions directly. Never. I don't do it. I don't do it. Even privately, it is done through my private secretary, if it is done at all. I don't answer questions on YouTube. I don't know how to answer the questions personally. So, and I don't intend to find out either. I'm very untechnological, and I'm also not, it's not my thing. So, thanks for the tip off. Thanks for the warning. Everybody, be warned. If you get somebody pretending to be me, it is not me. I'm not responding directly to anybody personally. And on that note, I will say thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been of some interest to you. If it has, please like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and see you on Saturday. God bless and goodbye.